Okay, so here is your summary of Aeschylus, and obviously the play is called the Persians, sometimes called Persae, you can use whichever you like. The play where nothing happens, supposedly, but actually a lot of interesting things. And I'm just going to go through what the structure of the play actually is. To start with, the first 250 lines, the paradox and the foreboding that you get there. So the paradox is what's the entrance song of the chorus. So the first 64 lines of the play, it's all about splendor, wealth, the might and antiquity of the Persian Empire. Then it moves on to the irresistible size and might of the army. The king speaks and a million sabers hear, etc., etc. Everything seems great for the Persians. But then you begin to get this little sense of foreboding. In line 1, it actually starts with the army has gone to Greece. And the word gone in Greek means to be lost or destroyed. That's a recurring theme during this period. So we've got this sense of something being lost appearing. In addition, the chorus talk about the Persian women who are mourning the fact their men have gone away. But that mourning also is as if they were already dead. As the audience, we already know that they are dead. But of course, the Persian court doesn't know that. And the third bit of foreboding is the fact that the chorus talks about a fear that some god may have deceived the Persians. Atossa then turns up after the paradox. She talks about her dream. You remember the one with the chariot where the Dorian woman doesn't take the reins. This is then confirmed by Xerxes falling from the chariot. Then she gets, after her dream, she goes to make a sacrifice. She has a vision of an eagle, which is the emblem of the Persian kings, being attacked by a hawk, the symbol of Apollo. And then the chorus leader tells Atossa that the Athenians don't have a leader. So she goes, oh, I don't need to worry after all. Leaderless, what are their hopes of resisting us? At which point, the chorus leader points out that actually they'd been able to defeat the Persians at Marathon. So we've got all this sense in the first part of the Persians are great, but actually we've got some kind of worries. And this all is underpinned by the image of the chariot. Remember in line 148, Atossa arrives in a chariot with splendor, and that chariot probably sits on the stage, doesn't it, as a symbol of wealth and splendor. Later, in line 600, Atossa will return on foot. And so here she's symbolizing the loss of wealth. And it's no coincidence probably that the chariot is used in the dream as something that Xerxes can't control. It's power, but it's not something that Xerxes can actually handle. Remember, before we go into the play, the chorus shows the Persians are already weak because they've submitted to a woman. They fall prostrate to Atossa. We also get a sense of Xerxes' weakness because when in the dream he falls out of the chariot, the line is, Darius stood and pitied him. Oh dear, parental disapproval. And then there's a kind of humour or audience pride when Atossa and the chorus are talking about the Athenians. And Atossa says, and can they, masterless, resist invasion? And of course, when you're listening to that as an Athenian, you're thinking, can we resist invasion? I rather think we did twice. So there's a little kind of sense of the build-up, at which point, of course, the messenger appears. And he's got 4 speeches. He's going to give blame to what actually happens. He's reminding us he's an eyewitness. And of course, he's the mouthpiece of Aeschylus because Aeschylus himself is an eyewitness, having fought at Marathon and probably watched Salamis. The 4 speeches are going to come up. We're just going to have a look at each of these. The first one is the long list of casualties. Now, this balances up the list in the paradox of the long list of fighting forces that are going off with the Persians. This time, though, we know they're not coming back. And Aeschylus is saying these are brave guys and they didn't deserve their fate. We can begin to think who's responsible for that fate. The second speech of the messenger is the actual battle. He talks about at night the Persians rowing in the night, and then in the morning the Greeks appearing like the white tops of the waves, and that symbolizes the experience. The Persians are blundering around in the dark. The Greeks are fresh and confident, and the battle is described in detail, along with the famous battle cry, "Forward, you sons of Hellas, set your country free," which is contrasted to the babble of the Persians who don't have a battle cry. Thirdly, in the Paradox, the chorus talks about the fact that the Persians were meant to win wars by land and not by sea, and so on Pitaleia, the island where the Greek hoplites, actually defeat the Persians, we get defeat by land and sea. And then finally, there's the retreat, probably an invention, so almost certainly an exaggeration, but he wants to give this sense of a total disaster for the Persians, and showing how it's the gods who've been involved in defeating the Persians. So that gets us to the sort of halfway stage of the play. We've had the Paradox and the chorus and the messenger's speeches, at which point we have the reaction to the defeat. Remember what the chorus does. The chorus, they show the audience how you should respond emotionally to what's going on. Initially, it looks like, actually, we've attacked and trampled the whole Persian race in line 215, and it feels great. But actually, as the chorus starts talking in line 536, 537, we see that actually they're suggesting this is something to be sad about. The gloomy mists of mourning. We're partners in one grief. This is a terrible tragedy that's overtaken the Persians. And they're clear over the blame. Xerxes is named 3 times, and they identify their new worry, that now all kinds of people are going to want freedom and free speech, like the Greeks have had, and especially the Athenians have had. Darius' ghost is then raised from the dead. He's the other major event in the play, and he brings splendor in contrast to the failure of Xerxes. He predicts Plataea, which is coming up, and then he gives this moral interpretation of the play. He builds. He talks about the building of the bridge over the Hellespont, offending Poseidon, temples being destroyed, attempting to conquer the world, all signs of hubris. And Xerxes is the one who's done this, and as a result has brought down the resentment of the gods upon the Persians. And so we see the qualities of Darius as identified by Atossa. He's stable, he's strong, he's powerful. Then Darius comes and makes his judgment on Xerxes. And how does he describe him? He uses these words: rash, some god robbed him of his wits, youthful recklessness, mortal folly, madness. Are you getting the picture? Xerxes the rash, credulous of his advisers, has a young man's mind. Look, and you will not find that all we Persian kings together did her so much harm. Here's the ultimate condemnation of Xerxes for all he's done. And then Xerxes himself appears finally, and the whole play then shows this contrast between initial prosperity and the final ruin. The chorus praises Darius, and then Xerxes comes on in rags to give us that massive contrast. There's an antiphonal komos. Remember, a komos is an exchange between an actor and a chorus. And Xerxes and the elders confront each other. They blame him for being. Isn't it amazing? They're not even willing to look at Darius. They prostrate themselves to Atossa, but they confront Xerxes. What does that say about his power? And then we get the final exchanges. They start rhythmically, but then they break down because of the grief and the mourning. And we all know where that leads us to. Yes, friends. And therein lies the final despair of the Persians. And the Persians then leave the stage, and we're left with this sense of what, therefore, is the play about.